Hello, hello, and welcome back to Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with your host today, myself, Louise Power. This show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship, and inspirational stories. And today in the studio, I have my friend and global executive coach, Sarah Farmer, in the studio. We've been speaking all things imposter syndrome and self-limiting beliefs. And before the break, she was taking us through five steps, a fantastic formula that Sarah has put together in order to help people beat that imposter syndrome, beat the different things that just stop us, those procrastination, the things that stop us from getting from one place to another. So welcome back.
Thank you. God, we've done a lot so far, haven't we?
We really have. And I'm telling you now, this show is to be played and replayed again, because everything, that we hear today is actual real life and physical content, things that Sarah actually does on the ground day to day. And whilst we was on the break, Sarah, I got some messages through. So somebody called Ernest sent a message through, and he was saying that he was dating, he's a black man, and he was dating a white woman. And when he went into that relationship, there were some biases there and expectations about what he would be like. He integrated into that family, and initially there was some sort of setbacks about them thinking, because their beliefs, I suppose, of what a black man would be like was learned somewhere, because they didn't mix with anybody outside or to create any diversity within their own tribe. Once they had forged relationships with him, he said that they created a special bond and realized that they're all just people. And but he had a very bad imposter syndrome related to that. And then I think that comes into sort of like breaking the bias as well, doesn't it?
Completely. I mean, it's a really interesting story, and you just sit there thinking, what? Who cares? I mean, I really don't care what color anybody's skin is. It doesn't. Why should it matter? It's what's inside that counts. But the reason that it happens is probably worth going into, because we're not doing it on purpose. We're doing it because we are built, we're created to recognize difference. And that comes back from the Neanderthal days, that if something different happened in our environment, for example, it was nice and quiet and then a saber-toothed tiger was running towards us, we would know immediately that wasn't a good thing. We didn't sit there and have a chat about it and go, oh, I wonder if it's angry today or not. Yeah. We'd get up and run, or we'd find something to try and kill it with. So when the innate response we have to difference is fear.
Yes.
And when we're in a fear response, we start to repel. So as soon as we see something that we don't understand, we find it worrying.
Yeah.
And that's what causes it. It's not because we're racist, or, some people obviously will, but that still exists. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But it's just about difference. So when you really start to help people understand how their brain's working and how they're resisting difference, that's what breaks the bias. Not telling people you should have more women on your board, you should have X amount of women of color doing this, you might need some Jews in there, whatever it might be. It isn't about a numbers game. And this is what annoys me when I see people talking about it, saying, well, just do this and employ that person. It's not about that. Breaking the bias is understanding how our brains work and help us stay biased. And it's unpacking that will change everything.
Absolutely. And our friend Heather also sent through some questions and comments as well. And she was talking about an experience she had, standing in a queue at M&S, and a conversation from somebody from a social media leadership perspective, speaking about social media. And, this person was over 40, and then getting into this sort of back and forth conversation about, why would somebody her age know anything about social media? Because young people thought, well, if you're over 40, you can't necessarily, what would you know about social media? But social media isn't just about some of these really young platforms like TikTok and everything else. You and I spent more time on LinkedIn and that's different, but it's biases, isn't it?
It's complete bias. I mean, and to be fair to the youngsters that were discussing this, when we're 20, we really think we know it all. In fact, when we're 13, according to my son, we think we know it all. And we grow up feeling invincible, and we think anybody over the age of 30 is way past it. And then you hit 40 and 50 and realize, actually, my teeth are still in, my legs and arms still work. It's all okay. It's just perception, isn't it? But yeah, that's a bias as well. So we're all at it. And it's, again, it's not consciously done. It's unconscious.
Right.
And that's why it's not easy to just put a process in place in an organization and go, right, we are now going to be bias free. You know, it just doesn't work like that. It's a lot about education. And I know you do an awful lot of that. Oh, and I haven't said, massive congratulations. I mean, one, I'm excited to be here because I'm out of my house. 2, I'm in London. 3, I'm with you. But 4, I'm not just with you. I'm with an award-winning you. So you've kept this very quiet today, but Louise has won an award. I'm not even going to begin to describe what it is. I don't even know if you can fully yet because you're so excited. But it's massive, and huge congrats to you.
Thank you ever so much, Sarah. So yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to share that as well and share that news with you while you're here. So yeah, no, it's great. The award is from the New York Bar Association and United Nations. And it's for the work that I've done around the globe for women and girls, and it's an exceptional award. So yeah, I am very honoured, very still gleaming, still bouncing off of cloud 9, and it's great to be in your energy. So that we're still
so happy for you.
Thank you so much. And you know, it's for me, you know, my own personal experiences is what led me to the work, where I wanted to spotlight women, help women, advocate for women, you know, be that voice for women and girls and take them through, make life a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I think that's why we gel so well, is because I have that same theme. I do it in a different way with different people. But actually this thing about, there were several times at work when I really felt that I was being held back or overlooked, and my behavior wasn't great, but it was a response to being held back. And I have worked with so many awful leaders who have treated people so appallingly. This was my driver, was to be the voice for these people. And I have to say, a lot of my clients, not all of them, but a lot of them, even if it's not happening when they first come to me, they will talk about experiences in the past where they've been led really badly, really, atrociously, I would say. And it's left real scars. And I stand for them. I won't have bullying in the workplace. In fact, if I could wipe it out on my own, I would. And that's kind of what this is all about. Because if people have an inner strength, an unshakable belief in their own self-worth, which is what we work on and where we get them to, they can stand up to these people and they will get wiped out. It's just disgusting.
And actually what happens is, if everybody has that same worry about saying something and being the one to call it out, then nothing gets done. And the same and moreover of the same people get recruited into those positions, because some of the, what I call psychological nepotism that happens in these organizations is people recruit people like them.
Oh, and this is to do with this, the brain thing is, if you're like me, I will like you, therefore I'm more likely to employ you. I mean, don't get me started on these 360 feedbacks they do at interview stages, and they go, well, we're looking to see if we can get someone to fit in that quadrant. I'm like, oh God, this is not what it's used for.
They even called it cultural fit. So, and that is like a big, massive arena. It would be really good, because I have so many like questions and different things from people coming in, and different examples from, I've had imposter syndrome about starting a business. I've had imposter syndrome about, how to speak to my manager about that, getting a promotion. So many women having imposter syndrome, so many different people have imposter syndrome about their next steps. Do you have any examples of anything where you've taken somebody through that process that may inspire our listeners today?
Oh gosh, yeah, I've got plenty. And I'd also just like to say this doesn't just happen to women.
Yes, of course.
And it's really important to say this, because there's so many myths associated with imposter syndrome. One of them is it's a women's thing. It's not.
Yeah.
What tends to happen is less men will come forward with it, because they feel that that they should be able to handle it. And I've got some amazing, utterly outstanding male clients who are quite open about this, or maybe they didn't know what it was when they came to me, but we've worked through it. I think talking about setting up your own business or not, I've had quite a few clients, especially over COVID, who have been made redundant and played with the idea of setting up their own business. And then all this stuff comes out like, I couldn't because, I shouldn't because, I won't earn enough money, this won't happen. And we're focusing purely on the negatives. So the first thing I would suggest is to think about where these negatives are coming from. It's back to this evaluation stage again. And one great example happened very recently is I've been working with one amazing lady for about a year now, and we have blasted her imposter syndrome out of the water. Absolutely blasted it out to the point where she went for a job that she wanted on her terms, at her level of salary, you name it, she got it, and so cool about it all. There was no stress whatsoever. It just happened because she had an unshakable belief. I said to her, how are you feeling about starting next week? And she said, oh, I'm a bit nervous. I was like, what are you nervous about? And basically what she said was, well, I just need to remember I shouldn't speak up, because when I speak up, I get fired. Now, even though we've done a year's work on getting into I deserve this role, there was still this stuff underneath associated with things that had happened to help her lose her role.
Right.
And so we had to dig into, I won't give you the whole story because it took about an hour and a half, but tell me about when you stood up for yourself and how that linked to you getting made redundant. Anyway, an hour and a half later, it was nothing to do with that. It was everything to do with the fact that her self-limiting beliefs and her lack of unshakable belief in her self-worth had contributed to that from the day she started there, from the day she took on too much and didn't say no, from the day she didn't set boundaries on her working hours, from the days that every time someone said to her that was demeaning, she didn't stop them. It started there. So what I would say to anybody is whatever you're thinking isn't true, unless it's absolute gospel. It isn't true. It's just a belief you're having. And the first thing I would do is challenge that belief. Have a think about what else could be true. And remember, there's another thing that goes on with the brain is that we're hardwired to look for threats because we want to stay alive. So your ability to look for what will go wrong as opposed to what could go right is far stronger. So manage it and start writing down what will go right. How could I feel? How do I want to feel? What might happen that's great? And focus on all those positives. And then you're giving that negative mind something to think about, going, oh, maybe it is possible. And get help if you're worried about it, because anyone can do whatever they want to do. There is an explosion of opportunities out there that you can have once you have got this mind under control. You are more brilliant than you ever knew. You've probably not reached your level yet. And if you want to, you just need to get rid of it. And there's help out there to do that.
I'm so amped up. I can see people now just listening to this thinking, right, what does next week Monday look like? This is it for me, because, I think you have to have your way as well. My way is, if I'm going to do anything, whether I'm starting a new project, or I've got ideas for something, or I'm even starting to diet, or anything that I want to do personally, I always like to start on a Monday. That's just my thing. Everybody has their thing. Some people's, it may be the weekend. For others, it could be a midweek for some reason. And I think there's something really good about finding your way. Not everyone's going to have the same kind of way to ignite and kickstart this, but just finding your way of doing it that's going to work for you. And, if you can work with somebody like yourself, Sarah, or, even just having a friend that's just an accountability person that says, you said you were going to do that on Monday. You asked me to put it in your diary and I'm checking. Just in basic principle, just to get you going, I think really helps. And for me, people say to me all the time, how do you manage to stay so positive? But I don't even know how to think the other way. because for me, even if I don't find A, I will find B. And that's just the way my brain works. But I do understand how easy it can happen to think about the resistance and what could possibly not happen.
Yeah.
Because it's only natural.
It's fear of the unknown. As soon as there's fear of the unknown, we stop, we procrastinate, we tell ourselves we shouldn't, we wouldn't, and it won't, and it can't. And that's the monkey brain. I don't know if I should share this live on air, but I did share this with a coaching group the other day. I have real fun with my chimp now, the monkey brain in my head.
Yes.
And I dress it up. And if it's misbehaving, it's put in a corner on a naughty step. Today on the way in, because I was a little overexcited about coming on air for the first time ever, I had to stick it in the corner, and I dressed it up with a tutu and gave it a milk bottle. Now,
yes.
I might be mad, but that doesn't matter. The point is, I know how to control it. And while it's sat in the corner looking stupid, I can have rational thought and go, "You've got this." It's not that I don't have self-limiting beliefs. We all have them, and this is the other thing that's really important is. It affects the more successful you are, the more chance you have of having it. People think it only affects youngsters or people who've had a drama. No, the more success you have, the more imposter syndrome you can get. Really important to remember that.
As soon as you said that, I went back and I thought about when I first went into my office and I was working amongst big, large corporations such as Barclays, such as Hiscox Insurance. And I remember feeling this is bigger than me. And then being in a position where I had to get on stage at some point and speak about my business. And I was in a cohort of people, never really had that experience. And I know what I do. And I know I do it very well, but contextualizing that in front of people was such a scary place. And there was a group of us, all from different places, all from different demographics, feeling pretty much the same. And you said, as soon as you start to become more successful and you start to sit in rooms with different people that you may not otherwise have had interactions with before and being in different positions, that's when it all sets in. And it's so interesting to hear about that transition and switching off that
the chatter
of about how that actually happens. There's just so much here. It's like, oh gosh, I just
oh yeah, there is so much to it. And actually, now coming to write a book on it, I've realized, like you, when you were going to do that presentation, is I know what I do, but actually writing it down, it's really good for you actually to write it down, because it enables you to articulate it so much better. And it builds your confidence as well. So I'm doing it for a cathartic reason as well as a business reason, and to help more people. But yeah, that feeling that, what if someone says I'm wrong? What if I wasn't as good as I thought I was? I haven't actually described what I do. How do I put my words around it? You can't do that until you've turned the chatter off.
Right.
And once you've turned the chatter off, it starts to flood in. You imagine it like a murky pool of water. You can't see what's at the bottom. That's where your answer lies, because it's too muddy and murky. But you drain that out the way, and all of a sudden you're looking down going, aha, it's there.
So it's like the stuff you already knew, but you just need all these tools to help you unlock that.
Yeah, and clear the path so you can say it. Imagine you're asked to do something you've never done before, and you immediately go into a fear response. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I've never done it. And if that happens to me, I sit at my desk and go, I can't think. So if I go for a dog walk or go to the gym, all the thoughts will come out.
Yeah.
I mean, people know this is true. You have to clear the mud. But if I hadn't got a hold and knew how to manage my own gym, it would be harder. So all of these tools help you do a lot of things, but what it does do is it just clears your path to be able to do, say, be anything you want to be.
I'm just looking at our notes, and I'm just looking at, we've spoken about, the imposter syndrome, where it comes from and what you can do about it. We've got 5 steps. I mean, I just feel like this session today has been so pinnacle and we've got so many tools that people can actually use going forward. And I just feel really, really excited about it. We're going to go on another short break, and then we've got the last half of the show. Please do not touch that dial. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power of Louise Power and Sarah Farmer in the studio.